favorite songs. Sometimes I hum it to myself when things are not going real well. Just watch the river run and go with the flow. You know, this is a huge spiritual practice. Those of you who know about the way of the Tao, the watercourse way, this idea of following the energy of life with this metaphor of the flow of water. Water teaches us a lot. You know, nature is a great spiritual teacher. So as Glenda was talking about the way we drive, she failed to mention that I always have to drive. That is true. I always have to drive. And it's not because I'm selfish. It's not because I think I know how to get where we're going better than anybody else. It's because I am motion sick with a vengeance. And if I'm a passenger and I'm not aligned behind the driver's seat, I get extremely sick and I'm worthless. I have to go get a bucket and lay down for a while. We had that experience in Puerto Rico, remember? We talked about Puerto Rico. I'm a 12-stepper. I have 28 years of sobriety, but when we were in Puerto Rico, I literally crawled out of the limousine that we had gone on a road trip, crawled out, laid on the steps of the hotel and grabbed a brown paper bag. I mean, for me, road trips are not all that fun because I get motion sick. So I have to be real clear and real aligned with my own path to make sure I can make the grade so that I can make the trip. You know what I mean? Well, that's not my talk, but it reminded me. Because I have to drive. You know, and for me, metaphorically, I see that as if I'm not aligned with the truth of my being, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to have to, get a bucket. So, well, it's true. So we picked this particular topic. I like this topic because as the summer winds down, we're taking it a little bit easier. We're relaxing a little bit. Glenda's going to take a long trip. I'm taking a very brief trip with my entire family, my son, my mother, my husband, and we're going to be going to Minneapolis, of all places, and it's going to be a great gift because we're going to be watching my son graduate with distinction in his master's program. So this is a great gift to talk about navigating the path and enjoying the ride. You know what it feels like when you have found your passion and you're living your passion? That's my son. So this idea of taking life a little bit easier, taking an opportunity to sort of, relax on the trip is really important, I think. To take the scenic route. I know you're going to be taking the scenic route this summer. To slow down, to just lighten the load, to let all the stuff kind of go by the wayside, and make life a joyful journey, because we get so wrapped up in the everyday stuff, don't we? And setting aside this opportunity, whether it's metaphorically or actually, to lighten the load, take it a little bit easier, watch the river flow instead of getting so wound up. So I picked this particular image behind me because this is an image that reminds me of my childhood. This is a Colorado river at 7 o'clock in the morning, and in the 50s, and see a family building a campfire and a big old black skillet, and the daddy's frying the eggs and the bacon. And this was our tradition in our family in Colorado when I was a child. Driving up into the mountains for a sunrise breakfast, this road trip, and it was a wonderful thing. Now, I need not remind you that my family was probably not completely aware of my motion sickness, and so it wasn't all awesome. Today, I'm remembering this beautiful part. The car sick part, I kind of pushed that aside, but this reminded me of that easy time of life where we kind of let go and we're not so wrapped up in the day-to-day stuff. Anybody a child of the 50s? I know many of you are not, so you can't relate to this, but it was the vogue in the 50s. Do you remember to take a road trip? Remember that? That's when the Route 66 thing got started and all the diners got started and all that fun stuff. Sunday drives, anybody remember Sunday drives is easy. This is the way we entertained ourselves. We didn't have iPads and iPhones and video games and every movie on the planet. This is what we did. We went on Sunday drives. We took evening rides in the countryside in the summertime. And what I remember about that is stopping at some local dairy to get an Oregon blackberry ice cream cone. Remember the ice cream cone holders that had the points on the ends? Now they're all flat, right? Remember the pointy ones? Of course, they dripped all over you, but still, remember those? You see, this is how we take life easy. This is how we set a different energy. This was a summer experience for 50s families. If you have had that experience, raise your hand. Yeah, that's what we did. That's what we did. We just sort of allowed everything to be new, right? We just sort of took off without any expectations, got in the car and started driving, kind of yielded to life, the big whatever was going on at the time, and just drove and just appreciated the journey along the way. This is what we're invited to do. Is that easy today? No. I haven't found it that easy anymore. As a child of the 50s, it was a wonderful opportunity to just enjoy the ride, to relax with whatever came up, not have any expectations. If it was the Oregon blackberry ice cream cone, oh, awesome. And sometimes it was the smell of a cow pasture. For a city girl, that wasn't all that great. But it arose, and it was part of the experience, and we just embraced it all, you see. The A&W root beer floats, just all of it. And those were sweet times. And so if we were Archie Bunker, we'd be saying, those were the days. Yeah, those were the days. And not really. I mean, as a child, I didn't really know what was going on. There were lots of things going on in the world I didn't know about. And of course, like all of life is complex, right? Life is filled with paradox, and there's stuff going on everywhere, and this gives us an opportunity to simply embrace it all. The motion sickness, whatever's going on, we just adapt, we allow. We're talking about this idea of yielding the right of way, surrendering to the isness of the experience. So when we're 5 years old and we're in the passenger seat and we're driving along and somebody's like just charting the course for us, it's just awesome. As we grow up, I was thinking about this, as we grow up, and I've sort of been thinking about this topic all week, the actual topic is yield right of way. Well, the way my life turned out this week, let me tell you, I kept thinking the topic was yield right away. Yield right away. Because my life has been complex. This week was just not a good week for me. So I kind of lived the topic all week. I have 60-year-old gigantic trees. I had 60-year-old gigantic ficus trees in my backyard. Provided a sanctuary, shade everywhere. My pool was shaded. It was lovely. It was a sanctuary. And my neighbor had plumbing problems and complained and said, take the trees down or we'll see you in court. My trees came down this week, all of them. My backyard is desolate. Those of you who have been at Santa Clara, all of you, many of you, know this is not a pretty sight. And let me tell you something, when you have beautiful trees to distract your attention and they're gone, everything else looks just horrible. Now, isn't that the way life works sometimes? Yeah. So I'm thinking, yep, yield right away. And I was angry and tears, and I thought, you know what? It took them 3.5 years, 3.5 hours, and 3 chainsaws to destroy what it took nature 60, 70 years to create. And it was it was not a good feeling, But then I thought, well, if I'm really going to live the message to this yield, to this surrender to the isness of life, to be present with it as it is, not attached to it, not push against it, not go against the flow, right? I don't have a choice here. There's nothing that I can do to make this different. I can't say that I'm going to yield the right of way only when. Yes. or yes, but, or only if this happens. See, I got to learn how to yield and surrender and be present with stuff no matter how it shows up. This is my practice. And so I had a human moment of feeling really disappointed and sad and angry even, and I don't do anger, even a little anger around this thing. And then I went, well, I get to live this message that I'm working with this week and surrender to this experience in a way that allows whatever is going to come next to reveal itself to me. And so it opened, I like what our author says, anytime we're in this yielding place, we are actually giving permission for life to show us what's coming next, to open the door to the new possibilities. So the new possibilities, I went online immediately the day they took the trees down. I ordered 3 enormous, very enormous round cabanas. One of them is already installed, 2 to go, to provide some shade and some distraction in that backyard so that we can start regaining the beauty and the calm and the sanctuary that was back there. So it's not that we just roll over, like Glenda said, and become a doormat. It's that we take the next appropriate action, whatever that thing is. But we have to be able to simply embrace the isness of the experience. Get creative with that and allow a new possibility to begin birthing itself. Our author uses the terminology, allow the wind of the divine to blow through the experience. Mind you, he's using this road trip analogy. Allow the wind of the divine to simply blow through your hair and let it be as it is. Whether it's the traffic jam, whether it's the roundabout that we saw at the beginning, no matter what it is, whatever that thing is, to allow that, chainsaws, to allow that thing to be present on its own terms, life on life's terms. Boy, I'll tell you what, if we start pushing against life on life's terms, it's going to be painful. It's always going to be painful. So these bumpy stretches, like Glenda said, can be an avenue to the grace of whatever is to come next. And you know what? It's been my experience. I really never know what that's going to be. Most of what happens is uninvited in my life. Unexpected, uninvited, unintended, right? The stuff that gets my attention and hurts is usually in that category. But I can embrace whatever that thing is and allow that to then become part of my journey. It already is anyway. Might as well embrace it and enjoy it and make the best of it, yes? And this is where I was thinking about this. For me, this idea of yielding to the experience is about being gracious. It's about being filled with grace. And I realize that for me, being gracious is a really important quality of the divine for me to live in my own life. Please, go ahead. After you, yes, how can I serve? This graciousness that allows us to not have to be the me firster. My mom, sitting in the audience today, one of my biggest lessons in life. You don't need to be a me firster. You're being a me firster. You know what I mean by being a me firster? Think about yourself at a stop sign, a 4-way stop. This is a classic example of the yielding experience. First of all, you got to know the rules. You got to know that when you see a stop sign, you stop, right? So this is part of our life experience. We have to know what benefits us and what doesn't benefit us, and where we're going to start colliding with life. So we have to know occasionally it's necessary to stop. It's necessary to take a breath. It's necessary to wait our turn for whatever is coming next. It isn't necessary to have a stuck position, my way or the highway. I've always got to be right. I'm going first no matter what. If somebody starts to proceed, I better be able to yield or I'm going to cause a crash. Yes? So this idea of using the 4-way stop as a metaphor for our life experience, no matter what is showing up for us, is very helpful. Stop, breathe, assess the situation, and take your turn, whatever it is. Because when we authentically surrender to the experience, however it's showing up, we're not giving any part of ourselves away. We're not diminishing ourselves in any manner of speaking. It takes a lot of courage to surrender to the moment as it is, especially when it doesn't feel good, especially when it hurts. And really, it doesn't really matter who goes first. It doesn't really matter what the positions are. It doesn't really matter that my neighbor threatened to sue me because of my trees. What matters is that it is as it is. That's the way it was. I could stand on my own position all day long until I get, a lawsuit to defend and say, I'm right, this is my position. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't need to stand on that position. I need to stop, breathe into it, realize what is the next appropriate step, and go with the flow. See? One small, sweet step at a time. You have to embrace these things. Unhurried, in a way that allows everybody and everything to have a say. I didn't like what my neighbor had to say. Matter of fact, to tell you the truth, I'm not liking her very much right now today. I'm sure she's a divine being, but I kind of am holding her responsible for the death of those 3 beautiful trees. Yeah. So I'll get over it, and that's another area of I need to learn how to yield to my my judgment around that. Do you hear what I'm saying? That's another area of yielding. So here's the invitation. This summer, as you wind up this last month, this hot month, see if you can take it a little bit easier. See if you can allow life to be what it is without the struggle, without the push, so that you can actually enjoy the ride. Open to the blackberry ice cream at the dairy. Open to the beauty of the river flowing. Relax. Allow the grace of whatever the experience is, even if it looks pretty icky like my tree situation with the chainsaws. Allow the grace of whatever that is to begin to birth itself, to guide you through your next whatever. I feel like that is a gift somewhere. I haven't found it yet, but I'm going to open to it and see how it can then be. Well, one of the gifts is my husband's thrilled. I have to tell you, he wasn't too happy about the trees going down, but you know what? He is so happy because guess what? He doesn't have to clean out the pool 5-6 times a day because the leaves and all the little big things are not doing that. So, we got to look at it all. So here's your invitation. Surrender to the moment. That's the only place you can surrender to the experience of life. In the present moment, that's where the path is. That's where the journey is. And I love what one of our authors says, our journeys are uncharted. Isn't that the truth? You never know what's going to show up next because it doesn't already exist. I had no concept a month ago that what happened in my backyard to my trees was going to happen. I had no idea that was going to be part of it. So it doesn't already exist. We just get to meet it in the moment, however it shows up. And our gift is to remember that we have all of everything that it takes to yield to that moment, in the moment, and make it through. To stay on the path, make it through, get to the other side of whatever that thing is. And I just love what one of our authors says, and this is what I'd like to leave you with. Even though our lives are uncharted, and even though everything comes uninvited, this whole idea around yielding to the moment is sort of embraced by this. If you want to know how your life is going to turn out, look at how you're living right now. This is how your life is turning out. If you want to know how your life is going to turn out, just look at how you're living your life right now. Because this is how your life is turning out. Because it's a moment by moment by moment journey. And it's so much easier if we have the capacity to yield to the experience of life on life's term as it is. Thank you for listening.